welcome to another installment of TED Excellence, the show in which kids say the darndest things. Like, do what I say, because I rule the world. And I come to you live from my Corona bunker on the moon with Dog Cat Fox, a Pepperjack, and all of you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Thursday. Terrible Thursday, because I had to watch She-Hulk, and that character is insufferable. But that was in the past. Now we're in the present, and in the future comes tonight's TEDx, where we ask the question, what if young people ran the world? Why do I have a sneaking suspicion? I haven't watched this, of course, but why do I have a sneaking suspicion that Greta Thunberg's going to come up? Or David Hogg. I don't know. I figure I have a 50-50 chance of one of these two individuals coming up in mentions somehow in this presentation. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong, because those would be bad examples, but I suppose we'll find out together. But before we get into that, who is joining me on this beautiful Thursday evening for education and entertainment, edutainment? Jaeger Pony, hello. Matt Barnes, hello. The Magister, hello. Zeke Weiss, hello. Mike R, hello. Ken Elliott, hello. Spoony the Rebel, hello. Jamie Milquist, hello. Asan, hello. Bridget, hello. And best of luck on your Japan trip, Bridget. Coming up in 4 days. Snubberth, hello. Shadowclaw, hello. Roger Reynolds, hello. Simon Willikins, hello. And then chat jump because of course it does. Let's see. Robert Pincus, hello. Darth Mando, hello. And did I miss anybody? Austin P, hello. Zan Wild, hello. Duo Lingo, hola. ¿Qué tal? Keldrig, hello. John Gamesman, hello. Everybody's filing in now. Hello. Resolute Germ, hello. I could go on all night. But hello to you all, now, in the future, or otherwise. Or lurkers, hello to you too. So yes, what if young people ran the world? Now, admittedly, this was my second choice for tonight's TEDx. I had what I thought was a perfect TEDx. Because the title, oh man, the title of this TEDx that I saw, it was amazing. It was like the toxicity of pursuing like inner peace or something. It was something like that. And I was like, oh, toxic. Taking something that's positive and putting toxic in front of it, that's perfect. And I was like, oh boy, and I get it, and I open it up, and I start watching a clip just to make sure the audio's okay, and the whole thing's in French. And I was like, I can't do that. I don't know French. I don't, expect my audience to know French. I did have an offer from a very, very friendly viewer, Potato Soup, to translate the whole thing from French to English for me, and then I could somehow, but I wouldn't ask anybody to do that much effort on this show. I appreciate it very much, but either way, yes, so I know, I'm already undercutting the entire show by saying this is my second choice. But I am curious to know what the argument is from a grown adult as to what possibly could be the rationale behind what if young people ran the world. I mean, if we're just asking the question sort of in a hypothetical, everything would fall apart immediately. Especially if it were today's generation of young people. Seeing as how, or just setting aside today's generation, the amount of time necessary for just the human brain to develop to a point where it can operate in a functional sense and have enough experience with the world and with other people to have some sense of the world and other people. The ability to possess some talent with conflict resolution. It takes years. There are some savants out there, don't get me wrong. There's some kids that are far beyond their years in seeming maturity, but that doesn't mean that they are ready to start running the world. So, anyway, I don't know what's going to be said. I can guess, but that'd just be me guessing. So, with all that out of the way, today's bingo card is bingo card B. B as in, boisterous. Sure, boisterous. Links to the bingo cards can be found in the description below. And on the off chance you do not wait until the end of this broadcast to get to the end of this broadcast, a programming note that this Sunday there will be no Sunday stream per se. Instead, after a long delay, this Sunday at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern will be the first episode, finally, of Living on Borrowed Crime, a new series I'm hoping will go forward, in which I have on a panel of true crime content creators to discuss true crime as a genre, criminal cases taking place right now, cases that they are working on or are interested in, that kind of thing. So conversation with true crime content creators, along with your questions, this Sunday, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. My first guests, as scheduled to appear, Matt Orchard, of Matt Orchard Crime and Psychology, and In Human Form, sorry, my brain lost me for a second, and All Fuzzed Out. So looking forward to that. Hope you'll see me there. I hope to have you there. And that's coming up Sunday. I'll remind again at the end of the show, because I've been hoping for this for a while. And thank you, Mr. Tickletrunk, for the happy, smiley, lovely Dogcat Fox. Oh, Dogcat Fox!
Wowie, wow, wow.
Oh, Dogcat Fox. Thank you, Mr. Tickletrunk. All right, all that is preamble aside. Our talk clocks in at just over 14 minutes. I'll start off with a few seconds for a sound test. You guys tell me if you can hear it, and then we will proceed.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, hello, hello. Can you guys hear that all right? Let me know in the chat. Let's see. Nathaniel Rotskull, hello. Fucking Kunt, hello. Who else is here? Payar D. Bayar, hello. Shell D, hello. And Shiogorath, hello. Spudgun, hello. Hello, hello. It's good, says Brad Young. No, says Shiogorath. What do you mean no? You don't get to say no. Sounds fine, says Roger Reynolds. Corey Suzuki, yo. All right, so hello, hello, hello. University of Bristol, let's go.
I'm so honored to be back where I graduated from. So when I was thinking about what I wanted to talk about today, I realized I could not talk about it without reflecting on my own personal journey from my childhood to now.
Okay, well, I'll take that as a childhood or family anecdote, just as the beginning, because we're probably going to get it here in a second. So going to the card, childhood or family anecdote, circling that one, and free space, just for the heck of it. So free space is on the board, childhood or family anecdote.
So when I was 5 years old, this was when I first experienced racism.
Okay, not even 30 seconds into this thing, and we're already a victim. Okay, well, I'm getting ready to circle plays victim, but let's find out what the story is.
Yes, at the age of 5.
Uh-huh.
I was born in Finland because my parents moved there after fleeing the Somali civil war in the 90s.
Okay.
My dad used to take us to school, and outside of our block of flats used to sit a homeless man. Mm-hmm. And he used to call us racial slurs. Mm-hmm. One of the ones I remember was monkeys. Uh-huh. I asked my dad one day, I said to him, why is he calling us monkeys? Because I didn't understand. And this was when my dad explained to us it was because we were black. Uh-huh. In my adult age, now that I think about that, I realize that it's such a sad thing that my dad had to remind me and also tell me about the fact that I will be treated differently just because of the way that I look.
By some people who are racist. Not as a default. But, okay.
When I was 15, this was when I joined a youth-led charity that fights against gender inequality. Uh-huh. At this time, this was when I discovered that I had family members who had undergone female genital mutilation.
Yeah, and what drives female genital mutilation? Is it religious beliefs, by any chance?
An act that is a violation of millions of women and girls' rights across the world.
Yes.
Since then, I've been delivering peer-to-peer education and also trying to raise awareness of what FGM is across the country.
What does that have to do with gender equality? Boys get circumcised. Nobody seems to care about that as much, anyway. I think it's fairly up there. Mutilating children against their consent, against their knowledge, as a religious right, I think is ridiculous to begin with. There are arguments about, at least in the sense, for the case of circumcision, there are health arguments. I don't know how accurate those might be, but mutilating children in any way, shape, or form, I think is bad and should not be undertaken. So, gender equality. How about just don't mutilate babies?
And hopefully influencing policy so that more girls don't go through this.
No, it's not policy. It's religion. Female genital mutilation is almost entirely fueled by religious practices. I don't know how you're going to change policy without changing some very wide swaths of religious belief.
One thing I realized about that time is that it's so important to educate young people, but also the importance of young people as educators.
Wait. Sorry, this is just not connecting in my head. FGM is an action taken upon young girls who don't have any choice in the matter on the basis of religious practices. Almost entirely. I'm not going to say 100% because I don't know, but the vast majority is fueled by religious practices alone. What does education have to do with that? If you live in a theocracy or you live in a culture or a country or amongst people, whatever, that believe in that as a necessary act to keep women down, which is effectively what it is. It's to reduce sexual pleasure. It's to keep a woman compliant or whatever. What is that going to... You'd have to change the entire culture. The fact that your parents moved you out of Somalia, good for them. They got you out of a terrible, terrible part of the world. And so if the worst thing that happened to you upon moving to, what was it, Finland or whatever, that some homeless guy called you a name, I don't know what to tell you. In relative terms, you were in paradise compared to where your parents brought you from. But what does any of that have to do with solving FGM? That requires something far beyond just policy. It's not a policy.
When I was 18, this was when I consulted a former Prime Minister on their counter-extremism strategy because it was further stigmatizing communities across the nation.
Okay.
With this, I realized how important young people's expertise was, especially since the Prime Minister's asking, "What do I think?"
Whoa. Young people's expertise in what? What? Did I miss something? I'm sorry, guys. I'm backing up. I don't know if it's the pepper jack or I'm just sort of still bewildered by the connection of policy change versus FGM. You consulted a former prime minister of what? To do what?
When I was 18.
When you were 18. Okay.
This was when I consulted a former prime minister.
You consulted a former prime minister of what?
On their counter-extremism strategy because...
On their what strategy?
As educators.
I'm sorry, guys.
When I was 18, this was when I consulted a former prime minister on their counter-extremism strategy because it was further stigmatizing communities across the nation.
I can't understand what she was saying. Do you guys know what she was saying? Something strategy? If you guys caught that, let me know in the chat, because I'm not going to go back again, but I don't know.
With this, I realized how important young people's expertise was, especially since the Prime Minister's asking, "What do I think?"
Okay, Zan Wild says counter-extremism. Counter-extremism. Okay, well, if that's what she said, and she's referring to FGM, that's not extremist, that's just common practice amongst the religious communities that practice it. I mean, an extremist, and a fundamentalist, I don't know. Anyway. Counter-extremism strategy. Okay, so far she's gone from gender equality to FGM to counter-extremism. You mean counter-religious fundamentalism?
When I was 24, this was when I spoke at Black Lives Matter protest here in Bristol in light of George Floyd's murder.
Oh, for crying out loud.
At the hands of the police.
Yeah.
These experiences that I had reminded me of how important young people are in the cause to make the world a better place, but also how they don't have that many resources to make that change.
Oh, okay, you've gone all over the map, literally and figuratively here. What? Someone called you a name when you were 5. You talked to a prime minister at 18, and then you attended a BLM protest at 24. What have you changed? What specifically do young people... Okay, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. I don't know where this is going.
This sets the scene for my talk today, which will be about why we need to shift power away from traditional funders to young people.
Traditional funders to young people? How young are we talking here? I mean, everybody's definition of... I mean, there are people who are younger than me that are still grown adults. How young are you talking about? Are you talking about 18-year-olds? Because at that point, they're legally adults. And why, I can't wait to hear this argument. Why should we give control over to people who have barely lived their lives outside of the home, in most cases, to this point?
We need to radically overhaul what the funding system looks like.
The funding system? Okay.
Now, the funding system is the funding organizations that fund charities and grassroots organizations.
The funding system that funds charities and... Okay, you're not talking about overhauling anything, you're talking about redirecting. At least that's what it sounds like to me. You want to redirect the money from the organizations you don't like to the organizations you do like. Or am I missing something?
Now, I want you all to envision a society where young people are valued for their current worth and not their future value.
Oh, gosh, let me think about that for a second. Can I imagine a society where children are valued for their current worth and not their future value? I think that's called being a loving parent. What are you talking about? I mean, I believe the children are our future is indeed a song lyric, but it's not a mandate. What? Am I missing something here? Okay, well, all right. Backing up a second. Depending on what part of the world we are talking about, maybe she's got a point. I mean, I can only speak for the culture in which I grew up in, and I, generally hope that, most civilized, rational people at least somewhat adhere to, or at least, the basic building blocks of human compassion, parents to their children. But, okay, I can easily imagine a world where that is the case, because I, for the most part, live in it. Okay.
Imagine communities where young people routinely make decisions of consequence.
Oh, young people make decisions of consequence all the time. Yeah, usually to the chagrin of their parents. What?
To schools, to environment, to their neighborhoods, to address issues such as race and violence.
How? Okay, I can't wait to hear the how, because my sarcastic brain can't help but say, when those kids down the street when I was growing up smashed up a bunch of people's car windows on the block, they made decisions of consequence. Not world-shattering consequence, just, glass-shattering consequence. Okay, thank you, Spud Gun. We're all getting stupider just listening to I hope springs eternal. I'll accept a point I disagree with versus no point at all, but we have to get there. Let's go to the card real quick and remind ourselves what we're listening for. Anecdote that probably never happened. I can believe some homeless guy called her names. That's the only anecdote she's given. The prime minister thing, that might be leaves out vital context. I don't know how vital it is. Let's see. Self-vilification or wretchedness? No. Systemic institutional? Yes. The systems of funding we need to overhaul, etc. Weightless example. The Prime Minister, FGM, depending. If she doesn't bring that up again, I'm probably going to circle it for that. Word salad? Maybe, we'll see. It leaves out vital context. I'm going to wait a little bit. Collectivize his own demographic. Because I was black. Yeah, okay, circling that one. White supremacy? Not yet. She hasn't brought it up that specifically yet. A list? Not a formal list, not yet. Privilege? No. Sales pitch for product or service? Until she brings up an organization that she says we need to fund or something. I'm going to wait on that one. Plays victim? Not overly so yet. Being called names, which I believe happened, I'm not going to... attempt to coin new buzzword, buzz phrase, not yet. Wage gap, not yet. Patriarchy, no. Feminism, well, I mean, patriarchy, FGM, I'll tell you what, FGM is decidedly an artifact of an actual patriarchy, so I'm going to circle patriarchy. Feminism, I might circle along the way, but certainly patriarchy. Mind reading assumes motives. We'll wait on that one. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, not yet. Marginalized, marginalization. It's been implied, but we'll wait. Argumentative, non sequitur. We'll wait. Contradicts own point or argument. Don't know what it is yet. Benevolent condescension. Not quite yet. Microaggressions, unconscious bias. Not yet. So far we have systemic, institutional, collectivizes own demographic, free space, patriarchy, childhood or family anecdote, and yes, a reminder that the bingo card tonight is B. B is in boisterous. Okay.
Decisions in aid of the greater good.
The greater good.
This is a reality, but one that exists in pockets of opportunities for a small number of youth.
Uh-huh.
I don't think that's enough.
What is?
Nor do I think it's the norm.
What?
But what I do think is that it could be.
What could be?
Young people are constantly tackling global issues across the world.
No, they're not. They're mostly doing hashtag activism and just repeating slogans fed to them by adults who have an agenda.
We see this with climate change. We see this with sexual violence. We see this when they're spearheading protests in their communities. Even here in June 2020, it was young people that put together the Black Lives Matter protest.
There's a TEDx I did a long time ago that had, and we've seen this in multiple instances since. Most times, kids aren't spearheading protests. They're being coached to do so by their adult teachers with an ideology and an agenda. They're being cheerleaded into doing things that they otherwise probably would not do, and oftentimes would be ill-advised to do, because they are avatars and activists on behalf of their adult overseers. Yeah, kids are doing all of these things. It's true. They have been for several years now. Let's go. Why don't you mention Mizzou? Go back to Mizzou and the university protests of 2014, 2015, thereabouts. Go back. What did that do? What did Evergreen State do to change the world? How wise, how smart, how much foresight was put into those protests, do you think?
That saw 10,000 people attending and a statue toppled.
Oh, is that a positive? Do you mark that as a positive? Destruction of public property? That's a good thing? Oh, okay. Thank you, Ebony Williams. Our speaker wants more Greta Thunbergs and David Hogg. Exactly. That's what I said at the top of the show. I said, if she doesn't bring up Greta Thunberg or David Hogg in this, I'll be amazed. Talking about, youth in revolt. And couldn't we all use more Greta Thunbergs and David Hoggs running things? Yeah, remember when David Hogg started encouraging Canadians to donate money to American political campaigns? Remember the genius of David Hogg? That's just the one instance that I remember. There's so many others. Oh boy. Lexi Mads. I have the stream running on my phone and iPad. My phone is slightly ahead of my iPad. Are you denigrating the learning ability of your iPad? Don't embarrass your iPad by putting someone who's a head starter in front of them. That's just not nice. Hurting their feelings. I'm going to back up a step here.
That saw 10,000 people attending and a statue toppled. And we all know that became hot topic.
Yeah, it became a hot topic. Is that something you're encouraging? Do you advocate for toppling of statues just as a matter of course? Is that a plus in your mind?
Young people are also coming up with youth-led organizations, creating change in their communities, and also putting pressure on their governments to create change and address these global issues.
Give me an example. I'm sure there is one. Give me an active example. What youth-led, youth-founded organization has created meaningful change? I'm not being facetious. I'm sure there is an answer. The question is, will she give us one?
Youth civil society is changing the world. But only last year, 71% of youth-led organizations said that they experienced a decrease in funding.
Maybe because the fad has faded? Or maybe because, I don't know, here'd be my question. Could it be that these youth-led organizations, after having been given the opportunities in prior years of such funding, if they haven't shown any results, maybe the people with the money have decided to invest their resources elsewhere for more effective results? Or do you have any explanation as to why that is?
And this is why I say we need to have young people at the forefront of designing what funding looks like and also deciding who gets funding.
No. Why did the funding decrease from down 71%? Why? Okay, it didn't happen in a vacuum. The fact that they're getting less money does not mean they need more money unless you answer the question, why? Now, I could see something like saying, well, the pandemic. You know, everybody on lockdown, everything, protest organizations didn't have a whole lot of opportunities as much as previous to go out, even though we had plenty of protests that somehow were not super spreader events, but we're setting that aside. If you had that kind of explanation, I could see it then. But then once the pandemic starts to fade, you would expect those numbers to go back up, right? So is there some explanation for why the funding dropped? You have to give a reason. The people with the money didn't just suddenly have a change of heart. Anybody willing to donate their money to such organizations in the first place, well, either the fad faded or they have a reason. Do you have any theories on that?
And further to this, I think that we need to look at young people as experts. Because not only are they the experts of their reality, they are the experts of their future.
Lady, give me a break. Okay? Do you know how many people I went to college with? Okay? We're talking early 20s, right? We're talking several years after what the age range you're talking about, who had no idea what to do with themselves. They got a major in this, but they were thinking about that, and they didn't know what to do after this, and nobody's an expert on much of anything at that age. Most especially their future. Very few people have a clear and defined plan for their future by the time that they're 18. If we're talking about young adults, okay? Or even in their early 20s. They are the experts of their reality. Yeah, it's true. I'm the expert of my own reality. My reality does not necessarily reflect the rest of the world, though. You see. Experts of their own future. No one knows what the future will hold. And even if you have a plan, it's usually just a list of things that don't happen.
Now, the funding sector is kind of moving in the right direction when it comes to interacting with grassroots organizations and also young people. But it's still not progressive enough.
Okay, what is progressive enough? Or is progressive enough just they're not giving the amount of money to the organizations I want them to give money to? What is the litmus test for what is progressive enough?
Traditionally, who gets funding, what causes get funded, and what charities is decided by grant-making organizations.
Yeah, okay. I will take your word for it, okay? And how does their decision-making process operate?
The process of grant-making has shown that there's still a gap in knowing what communities need, where resources should be focused, and who should get funding.
Do you have an example? I don't know how to picture this. Give me an example, please. I'm going to circle leaves out vital context in about 5 seconds if you don't start giving us some details.
Research also shows that the funding sector does not actually represent the communities that it seeks to serve.
Oh, okay. Well, first off, I'm going to circle leaves out vital context because obviously she's not going to give it to us. And, all right, circling that one. Oh, okay. So you want the money from the grant organizations, but the grant organizations don't have the right-looking people in the first place. So do you still want their money if they don't, quote-unquote, reflect the communities they're supposed to be serving? Is that money tainted, or will you take it anyway?
Now, there is a large proportion of representation in the funding sector being women.
Uh-huh. Is money handed to you by a man unwanted?
Especially in leadership positions. But this again does not extend to ethnic diversity.
Ooh, diversity. Okay, well, diversity, equity, and inclusion on the board. Okay, so there's women, but there's not enough ethnic diversity. Oh, okay. Well, how would you solve for that problem? Are you only going to accept grant money from those organizations who have the right ethnic mix to your liking? What was that earlier you were saying about trying to end racism? I just curious.
The charity campaign #CharitySoWhite in 2019 further highlighted the lack of diversity in the sector.
Charity So White. I must have missed that one in the grand swath of Twitter hashtags. Okay, so you want to end racism, but you have a problem with too many white people in the charity industry. Got it. How about I circle contradicts own point or argument? Because I think we just hit upon that one. So now you want to have a racial test or some kind of racial campaign in fundraising. Okay.
And put those in power under pressure. And
Charities So White put those in power under pressure to what? To what? Quit their jobs because of their race? Or to hire people because of their race? What are you asking for here? Are you asking for funding? Or are you asking for racial purity? I think I know the answer.
And put those in power under pressure, and rightly so. These issues contribute to the disconnect between the funding sector, young people, and grassroots organizations, and it means that a large number of voices are still missed out from the decision-making process.
Well, apparently, setting aside the voices being left out of the decision-making process because of their age, you apparently would have them left out on the basis of their race. There's too many of the wrong color people handing out money. We need to have the right color people handing out the money and making the decisions. Gosh. How do I pick these things? I picked it because it was about kids, like youth should be in charge. How did we get here? Okay.
Grassroots organizations have also said that the process of seeking funding is burdensome.
What organization? Name one. I mean, I believe that they exist. Can you give me an example? Just one example.
Because of how many hurdles the funding sector put them through. They ask them a large number of questions under the assumption that grassroots organizations cannot be trusted.
Well, okay, if I'm going to give my money to something, I have to have some assurance that the money's going to be used in the way that, well, the organization says it's going to be. Why wouldn't you want to verify that? And grassroots organizations, yeah, if they're just a loose amalgamation of people who just say, yeah, kids for the planet, well, if I hand them a bunch of money and it's a front organization for something more insidious, or if it's got no organization at all and the money just ends up getting spent on personal stuff, why wouldn't I do that? Yeah, grassroots, less traditional or less organized movements should have more oversight. What is this? Oh, Sister Scribe. This is the part where I interrupt your show. She's listening right now. Dollars to donut, she's listening right now. She's off on a trip. I won't say where, but it's out of the country tomorrow. And she's just deciding to harass me right now. Right in the middle of my speech, too. You threw me off. I had a thought. Anyway. Okay, well, if you don't want the funding organizations to have any oversight over youth-led grassroots organizations where there are no adults and little accountability... Sorry, what was your argument again?
And that they should provide loads of evidence of their work.
Yes! What, they shouldn't? Well, again, I hang out a shingle that says Youth for the Planet, and I solicit some funding organization for a grant. They should just give it to me because I say I am what I am and I'm going to do what I'm going to do? Please don't tell me you're arguing for less oversight over charity funding.
Bureaucratic processes are exhausting, grassroots organizations are underfunded, and staff are overworked.
What? Okay, there is a give and a take here. The bureaucracy is there for a reason. Okay, I'm assuming you would probably count yourself as or near to one of the youth you think should be running things. Can you stop for a second and imagine a scenario where oversight and verification might be a wise idea before handing over thousands or even millions of dollars to an organization? Can you think of one organization in particular that you have had some connection with in your own story so far, where millions, if not at this point billions of dollars have been handed over to anybody who hangs out a shingle with the letters BLM on them, and that money has been misappropriated and used for personal gain? Can you imagine such a situation? Or are you just looking for handouts without questions? You're looking for a blank check? I mean, don't get me wrong, people do that all the time, much to their own failings and chagrin, but most legitimate organizations, yes, they have a verification process, or they have an application process. They have to do some kind of oversight, some kind of vetting of where the money is going. Because if they happen to give money over to a front organization, to Al-Qaeda or something, they're going to be held accountable. I don't know what to tell you. It's called reality. It may not be the reality that the children are experts in, but it's the reality of the real world. Or does that not apply in your reality?
The demanding nature of the funding sector adds another layer.
Yes.
And who does this affect the most?
Illegitimate organizations.
Youth-led organizations and young people.
Hey, well, I mean, 6 of one thing, half a dozen of the other. An organization run by children who are not old enough to sign a contract. Yeah, probably not the most wise investment for charity funds. I don't... Am I taking crazy pills here? I mean, even if you have, and here's the thing, even if you have completely honest in their intention and their passion, completely innocent, young people running an organization, like they don't mean any harm, there's nothing nefarious about it, okay, where is the accountability? Like literally the accountability for the money that they may receive, right? If they haven't gone through the process of actually founding a charitable organization, or going through all of the necessary legal steps to accept money and have that money accounted for, etc., It doesn't matter how young they are or how grassroots they are or how, hey guys, let's put on a show in our backyard, lemonade stand for justice kind of thing. It doesn't matter. Okay? And it's not going to matter. There are legal concerns and liabilities involved for charitable organizations or funding organizations to hand over money to other organizations. That money has to be accounted for. And the people donating the money also have to know that the money they are giving over is going towards movements or organizations that will use it towards the ends that they want. There has to be some kind of verification. You can't just complain, kids aren't being given money because they're kids and nobody has faith in them. Yes!
Because larger charities, they can hire leadership teams and fundraising staff, which means that they have a bit more capacity to engage with these long and tedious processes.
Because they're professionals and they're adults trained in it. They have some experience. They aren't experts in their own reality. They are purportedly at least have some expertise in the realm of charitable organizations and or fundraising. They're not a bunch of kids with a slogan that they've been handed by Facebook or Twitter.
But young people don't. And again, that means the system doesn't work for them and they miss out.
No. The system would work for them if they followed the rules. If they had an adult representative to sign the papers and act as the advocate or the president on paper or something. You could have an organization that is run, or at least populated mostly by the youth, as long as there was someone accountable at the top that went through all the paperwork and the processes necessary to run the organization. It's not that tough. The steps are there. It's spelled out pretty clearly in the law and probably by the organizations giving over the money. Here are the check boxes you have to meet to qualify. But you're probably going to have a legal adult at the top of the pyramid, even if the organization is populated mostly by young people. But even then, the organization has to show some bona fides as to their intention and to have some kind of record. What are you asking to have happen here? What is your solution to this problem? Okay, you've described the problem. You've spent half this talk complaining that grassroots youth-led organizations aren't getting enough money. Okay, how would you change the system to meet the goal that you desire?
And there is a bit of a move towards trust-based philanthropy, which means that the funding sector trusts community organizations and grassroots groups to actually do the work that they set out to do. And
yeah, okay. But here's an old Russian proverb that was made famous by Ronald Reagan and is still applicable regardless of your political affiliation. Trust, but verify.
It eases the burdens that they face. But again, they're missing out young people from that conversation, and they're not shifting power to them to decide what funding looks like and the design of it, which means, again, it's marginalizing young people away from the sector.
Marginalization on the board, circling, marginalization. Okay, all right, we are now almost just slightly over half of your talk. What is your suggested solution?
Young people are also missing from leadership positions. And it's a bit of an issue because young people are leaders in their communities and their causes. And when I say this, I don't mean on a consulting level, and I don't mean young people being tokenistic puppets for organizations to say, oh yes, we're working with them.
Are you sure about that? Are you sure that young people are not just tokens, they're not just fronts, they're not just window dressing? Are you sure about that? Young people are leaders? Just, writ large? How do you define a leader? Okay, what qualifications could one of these young leaders show that would give a funding organization confidence that the money that they give over to them is going to be spent wisely, accounted for accurately, and lead to the results the organization promises? Okay, if I'm class president of my elementary school, yeah, you could call me, quote-unquote, a leader. I'm not an accountant. I do not have signature authority for contracts or agreements. I can't be held liable in court if I misuse funds that are handed to me from another organization. So, I hate to be a broken record. What are you talking about? What do you suggest be done?
I mean young people actually deciding who gets funding, what kind of funding, and what issues and priorities should be given focus. That's the radical thing to do.
You want to make children treasurers. Is that it? Why? Why would you do that? Or, okay, you must have, or I should say, for the sake of your argument having any weight whatsoever, you must have a success story, an active example where what you are suggesting has worked. Okay? Some experiment, some pilot program, something. You should be able to name an organization, an instance, a project, something that proves your point. Right? Thank you, Keldrake. I can't think of a single young person I trust with that kind of power. Well, if she's talking about the kind of grant money that usually comes to charitable organizations, we're talking like in the tens of thousands of dollars, possibly. Okay, but let's just be conservative. Let's say a grant of $10,000. Right? $10,000 handed to, she's talking about young people. I don't know what age range she's talking about. I'm going to assume we're talking junior high through high school age, let's say. Okay. Yeah, can you think, even in your real life, a kid within that age range, let's say 13 to 19. Let's just say that. That's usually sort of the youth activist territory, right? Okay, 13 to 19, that you would hand $10,000 to without any accountability, without any oversight, just because they said, I'm going to do Kids for the Planet, and I'm going to make a march. We're going to march on City Hall to protest for climate change. Uh-huh. And you think that $10,000 without any adult supervision, just grassroots, youth-led leaders. What sane individual? I mean, if you were like just some eccentric zillionaire who didn't care, like, okay, fine. But if you're a legitimate charity fundraising organization and you have accounting to put in, you have taxes to account for and payments, and you have to put everything on paper and you have to justify these things to your donors. No. Unless she has something to suggest. Do you have a suggestion for how this would work? Or how you could alleviate the fears of the funding organizations that are reluctant to give the money over to these grassroots groups? You must have a solution or an assurance to give, right?
Young people have been sidelined for way too long, and it has to change. Otherwise, the future is not going to look that bright for them. So why are young people the solution?
I don't care why young people are the solution. I want to know what your argument is for how these things should change to arrive at the conclusion you want. You talked about overhauling the funding system. How?
That question isn't just for the UK funding sector. It's for the whole international development community too, and it's something that they grapple with. I believe that young people have specialist knowledge.
They don't.
And they have strong community ties.
They might.
Which means that their insights and their recommendations are highly valuable.
They're not inconsequential, but they are not the end-all, be-all.
A study by Arrested Development showed...
A study by Arrested Development? What, Jason Bateman is doing studies now? Well, okay, what is... Okay. I'm assuming that Arrested Development is some kind of organization, yes? Okay. Arrested Development. And it's just no. I want organization. What is arrested development? What if it is then no wait. Oops. Every result I get. Oh, here we go. 10 fundraising lessons from Arrested Development. Okay. Arrested Development is probably one of the best loved television shows here. Oh. Okay, and that's not about Arrested Development. Arrested Development and HR. No, that's a... Okay, anyway, everything I look up has something to do with the TV show. Unless you're referencing the TV show, which would be hilarious.
A study by Arrested Development showed that young people in Uganda were well versed on what climate change was and what their communities needed to solve it.
Arrested Development in Uganda. Okay, Arrested Development Uganda. Uganda, Arrested Development Relief Web. Arrested Development in Uganda, a case study. Okay. A case study analyzing monostructured coffee economies and the dumping... That's obviously not it. Okay, and climate change? Arrested... Okay, I can't find what she's talking about. I can't find anything about what she's talking about. But, okay, the kids in Uganda were doing what now?
That young people in Uganda were well versed on what climate change was and what their communities needed to solve it.
All right, youth in Uganda knew what climate change was and knew how to solve it. How to solve climate change. Solve climate change. Okay, the kids knew this in Uganda. All right?
This shows that this issue isn't just a UK context or a European context. This is a global issue of young people not being included in the funding process.
What? So even people in Uganda aren't dumb enough to hand over thousands of dollars to uneducated children who have no accountability or legal liability? Oh, I'm shocked.
Young people can also help with analyzing the impact that funding organizations are having.
What?
Are they helping communities actually build capacity and thrive? Or
what?
Are they just helping them survive?
What? Define your terms. Capacity to what? What?
I believe that they're helping them survive.
What?
And this is an issue because so many grassroots organizations are already on the brink of closing down.
Possibly for justifiable reasons?
Because they don't have funding, because they don't have resources. And we saw this during the pandemic, because a lot of organizations are not existing anymore.
Yes, okay, that would be a cause that is beyond anybody's control. Sure, why didn't you bring up that? Is that why 71% of the funding to grassroots organizations dropped in the last couple of years? Or... I'm trying real hard, guys.
In this space, I've also found
What?
that young people benefit more from being part of the beginning of the process rather than at the end of it, or as consultants.
No, you said you didn't want consultants. You wanted leaders or... What?
What? What is that? What the fuck is that?
Okay, I'm circling word salad if it's definitely earned at this stage of the game. I don't even know what's going on now. I don't. I'm trying really hard here, but it's just not working. Let's see. I already did contradicts own pointer argument. Weightless example. Circling female genital mutilation and or gender equality. She brought these things up and has not returned to them whatsoever. Actually, no, I take it back. That might be argumentative non sequitur. Actually, you know what? That's more apt, I think. And then children in Uganda. Yeah, I'm going to circle that for weightless example. This is so frustrating.
Young people that I've worked with across Europe have said that by being part of the designing, decision-making and allocating of funds, they've been able to learn how to help their own communities, their own organizations secure funding, and also how to write good proposals and make the whole process much more accessible for them.
Oh, so they learned how to work within the established system, you say? They learn skills and abilities that will assist them as they grow up by working within the established system? I thought we needed to overhaul the funding system because there's too much bureaucracy. And you worked with grassroots organizations? You worked with youth in this? Why? They're experts of their own reality. Why were you getting in the way? You old fogey? Like, what? So, you helped kids learn how to work within the established system to get funding, did you? Oh, no!
Young people also recognize that funding organizations are actually hesitant to shift power to them to make these decisions, not because they don't think that young people are not experts.
Oh, okay, not because they don't think young people who don't know anything and you had to guide through the process are experts. Okay, well, what is the real reason?
But because they think it takes too much time to radically change the way that they work.
Wait. Funding organizations aren't funding youth-led organizations not because they're not experts, because it takes too much time to change the way they work? What, the kids? You mean teaching them? You mean it's not up to the funding organization to educate somebody on how to run a charity? Or what?
Now, grassroots organizations...
No. You don't make a point that is seemingly meant to be so profound and not back it up with something. Hold on. Okay, let's start over here.
Their own communities, their own organizations secure funding, and also how to write good proposals and make the whole process much more accessible for them. Young people also recognize that funding organizations are actually hesitant to shift power to them to make these decisions, not because they don't think that young people are not experts, but because they think it takes too much time to radically change the way that they work.
Who is they? Because you start off by saying that the youth or the young people. So the young people think it takes too much time to make the funding organizations change the way they work? Or I have no idea what that sentence was meant to express.
Now, grassroots organizations don't have the time or the capacity to apply for large funds.
Why not? Why not? Tell me why.
Which means that they miss out.
No, if they don't do it, they don't miss out. They just don't get it. Why can't a grassroots organization apply for major funding? Why not? What prevents them from doing so?
The work that they're doing is relevant.
If you say so.
It's holding their communities together.
If you say so.
And it's important for the future.
If you say so.
Yet they just don't have the resources, the time, or the capacity to actually apply for these large funds that are very much complex.
Well, Can you imagine why there is a complex process to be given lots of money for nothing? And heaven forfend, they have to work for it. Okay, all right. What are you suggesting in the alternative?
And with young people making their own youth-led organizations, they face this obstacle too.
Yes, because I guess it's just a democratic process like that. Either you fulfill the requirements necessary to qualify for such large amounts of free money, or you don't.
And this is why I say we need to include them in the decision-making process and the funding sector, not only to improve it, but to also actually know what parameters that they're working in whilst they try and dismantle it.
Okay. No, it doesn't matter about them in the decision. We already know the end that you want. You want the money to go to the kids. That's it. Putting the kids in the decision-making process of where the money goes is irrelevant. Okay? Unless you think the kids are just going to give money to other kids. If that's the only decision point you're looking for, that's got nothing to do with the age of the individual. You just want more money to go to kids. What does putting kids into the decision-making process have to do with anything? Of where the money goes? You want to make the kids the treasurers so they'll only give money to other kids? Well, okay, so the kids should be managing the money from the outset? No adults involved? What is the structure you are proposing be put into place? In a perfect world where you have a magic wand, what would this look like in practice? I cannot believe we're 3 minutes left in this thing and you've given zero details on what you would change, save for inserting people of a particular age into the decision-making process. I'm assuming also that they have to be of a particular ethnic persuasion, otherwise they won't qualify.
Young people have also called for a simplistic approach to how applications are made.
Yes, well, the world is not simplistic, is it? Why would you want to? They're experts.
Applications should be accessible. It should be designed with trust rather than a cash-me-out attitude.
Trust rather than a cash-me-out attitude? What? Is that a cash-me-outside reference? Wait. What?
Which a lot of them are.
What?
A lot of funding organizations, intentionally or unintentionally, are gatekeepers.
Of course they're gatekeepers! They hold the purse strings to millions of dollars! Are you kidding me right now, lady? What? Oh, lordy. What? Okay, I give up.
What the fuck are you talking about?
What the fuck is this? What the fuck is this?
Right?
Imagine that. Fundraising organizations being gatekeepers. Or funders of charities being gatekeepers. Yeah. Ay, caramba.
And this stops a large number of organizations and grassroots groups from applying or even getting funding. Again, even though their work is important.
Says you. Wait, their work is important. Oh, but it's being run by somebody who doesn't manage money well, or it has no organization, or they're a front for something else. or they have ties to this, or there's a record of that, or they're not on any paper. All right. It is a catch-22 that if you are an unofficial, loosely based organization with an agenda, you're probably not going to be taken as seriously until you incorporate in some way, file the paperwork to become an official, publicly recognized charitable organization, and go through the steps necessary to apply for official funding. Yes, you cannot just go and buy a bunch of poster board, write "Save the Planet" on it, do a march down the street, and expect to be given tens of thousands, if not millions of dollars just because you showed up and share a slogan and look cute on camera and say, "There's no planet B. Save my future." How dare you? You seem to be under the misapprehension that you are owed something just for showing up. That's not how things work in the real world. But what do I know? You're the expert.
Young people also need to have investment, resources, and training to be able to input and make decisions on what the funding future looks like.
Oh, they need training? What? Why do they need training? They're experts. They're experts in their own communities. They're experts in their own realities. They're experts in their own futures. They are ready right now to be put into decision-making positions for sending out money to different organizations. They need training? What? What? Excuse me? Are you saying that children cannot lead all by their lonesome? They need adult supervision? What?
Funding can be tedious, it can be boring, but it doesn't have to be. It can be fun, it can be creative, it can be transformative in ways it has not been before.
How? Again, I'll ask, you got 2 minutes. How? How would you change it? In specific, the mechanisms you would alter. You know how the fundraising process works. I'm going to at least believe for a moment that you have some expertise in that. I'll extend the benefit of the doubt. What do you want to see changed? What is a current process that you wish to streamline, and how would you do it?
But I believe in order for that to happen, we need to invest in young people. And the funding sector needs to shift its power to young people.
How?
But what does that look like?
Yes! Oh my God! Okay, we got less than 2 minutes. What does that look like? Please! I gotta know.
Firstly,
Yeah?
shifting away from predefined impact to young people reviewing, analyzing, monitoring, and evaluating change.
What does that mean? Okay, first off, I'm going to circle a list because she's going firstly. This is the first official list I've heard in the... Okay, let's try that again. Let's try that again from the top. What was that first part?
Look like. Firstly, shifting away from predefined impact.
Shifting away from predefined impact. Predefined impact. So what, like a stated goal?
To young people reviewing, analyzing, monitoring, and evaluating change.
What is that? What? Okay, I'm not being facetious here. What does that mean? Moving away from predefined impact. That sounds like moving away from a stated goal or a mission statement. Moving away from that to having youth evaluate, analyze, change? What?
Secondly,
What?
putting pressure on the funding sector, especially those funding organizations that you donate to as well.
Putting pressure how? To do what? And now you're guilt-tripping the audience for the people they give money to?
A lot of them are saying that they're helping communities, especially young people, but are they actually?
Well, I don't know. I guess I'd have to research and vet those organizations to see if what they say they're doing is actually what they're doing before I give them my money. Heaven forfend I should do such a thing, right? Or that any funding organization might do the same to any youth-led grassroots organization that is looking to get free money. But we shouldn't be doing that because the process is too complex of vetting things and verifying things. Are you kidding me right now?
How are they engaging young people? A lot of them will say they're shifting power to young people. But again, are they actually, and what does that look like?
What should it look like? What organizations are you talking about? Name one. Can you name one? Either one who should be a recipient or one that should be the provider? Anything?
Third, we need to start viewing young people as experts.
They're not. You just said they need training. You just said that they could maybe be consultants. Viewing them as experts. Okay. Just out of hand. Without any what credentials? Without any evidence? Just, you're young. You must be an expert. Is that how it's supposed to work?
For too long, funding organizations have been using them as consultants or just getting advice from them here and there.
Yeah, probably because they're too young to sign a contract. Probably because it's a PR campaign. Probably because of Greta Thunberg. Yeah, you don't have... Okay, here's the thing. You are pushing at an open door to convince me that certain charitable organizations are using children for PR purposes. Okay? You will not get me pushing back against that idea. I know that that is happening. We all see it happening. I understand. You know, a charitable organization, whatever, some kind of activist organization paying lip service to the idea that they are there for the children. Won't somebody please think of the children? No, I get that. But them using children as advertising pawns does not mean an injustice is taking place by not then putting those children in actual leadership or control positions of money. No. No.
So they know that their insights and their lived experiences are valuable.
No, they're not.
But they're still not bringing them in from the beginning of the process to the end.
Yeah, because then they'd have to be accountable for putting a child in charge of lots of money. That's not a good selling point. Do you have any evidence that a child-led charitable funding organization would be trusted? How would that operate on a legal level? At least answer me that. At least answer me that.
Them in from the beginning of the process to the end and allowing them to input into the resources that they will be accessing.
No, they're not going to be accessing the resources. You want them to allocate the resources. You want them to decide where the money goes, not the money they're going to be spending. Yeah.
And lastly, I want you all to think about your own paths, your own journeys, and your own experiences, and how can this contribute to a better future?
Oh, well, my own journey and experience is when I was in the youth demographic that you're talking about, looking back on those experiences, I wouldn't trust me with thousands of dollars. Not because I was dishonest or because I was stupid for my age, because I wouldn't know what the heck I'm doing. I'm a kid. I might be full of idealism, but I'm not full of professional accountability.
Because for every young person that cares, they deserve to have their voices heard, and they deserve to input into the future.
They don't deserve supervisory-less money handling. I don't even know if I'm using proper English at this point because I'm so burnt.
The funding sector needs a radical overhaul and quickly.
How?
Burdensome requirements such as asking for large amounts of evidence, organizational activity, and other requirements need to go.
Oh, right. Yeah. All evidence that the money I'm giving over to this organization is going to be used in the way I want it to. Get rid of all that. That's too much work. That's too much verification. That's too much responsibility on the shoulders of children, guys.
And I will leave you with this.
Okay.
If you are young enough to understand the experiences that you go through and be on the front lines to advocate for change, then you are knowledgeable enough to have a seat at the table and lead the funding space. Thank you.
Wow. Gosh. Was that a convincing argument? The answer is no. Anyway, let's go on to the wonderful world of the bingo card. And where do we sit? This is where we sit. Okay, I'm going to go over it one more time by myself. If you guys have arguments for squares to be circled, hold on to them until I'm through with this. And then I will take on your arguments. Anecdote that probably never happened. Of the anecdotes that she gave, I have no reason to think that they were false. I can imagine that some crazy homeless guy in, what was it, Finland or whatever, was a racist at her. I can believe it. She met a prime minister. To what end? What prime minister? I don't know, but it didn't... Nothing about it sounded like, and then they clapped. Same thing with going to a Black Lives Matter protest for George Floyd. I can believe all that happened. Everything else, did she give any other anecdotes of anything? I don't think so. White supremacy. Yeah, charity to white. At least in the industry and the territory that she was talking about, obviously, got to do something about all those white people. They're the wrong kind of people to be handing out money. They don't represent the communities they're giving money to, blah, blah, blah. Privilege. I don't think she ever said the word, but I'm willing to take arguments for why I should circle it. Sales pitch for product or service. I am amazed she never brought up a specific organization. At least one. Like one she's involved with or something. Unless we want to call youth-led grassroots organization as the product. Or the service. I don't know. Do you think? Let me know. Plays victim. The only instance in which she played victim, quote-unquote, was the guy calling her names. And she didn't lean on that too much, except for that one story. So I'm kind of hesitant to circle plays victim, because it's like, well, I could believe she, at least in that instance, actually was a victim. But that wasn't the centerpiece of her story, and she didn't really lean on that too much. So I don't think so. Attempt to coin new buzzword, buzz phrase. I didn't hear anything new, to me at least. Wage gap. Yeah. I'm going to circle that one just on the basis of some organizations get money and these organizations don't, and these organizations don't have the resources compared to, established resources, etc., etc. So I'll circle that one. Feminism. Well, I mean, gender equality. Yeah, you know what? I am. Between anti-FGM, which is, completely legitimate but does represent patriarchy, but also calling for gender equality and so on. I've convinced myself, let's say.
Oh, won't somebody please?
Bingo. B-I-N-G-O.
Okay!
Right?
First bingo. That is one bingo. Yeah, I don't have two there that I'm missing. Okay. Mind reading assumes motives. Yeah, looking out at her audience with this judgmental, you know, the organizations you donate to. You have to put pressure on them because obviously you don't check on where your money's going. But of course, now that I've done that, it is the case that we've got a two-parter bingo.
Bingo.
What?
Of course!
Come on.
Ooh, that's a bingo.
Right?
Yeah!
All right, we got 3 bingos going on here, if I haven't missed out on one somehow. Benevolent condescension. Did you know that funding organizations act as gatekeepers? Yeah. Did you know that, guys? Did you have any clue? Microaggressions, unconscious bias. The answer there is yes, because of the constant refrains of, you know, people assuming children don't have any expertise, or that they're not ready, or the grassroots organizations, this, that, and the other. They have an unconscious bias against these groups and these poor children. These well-meaning, expert children who can be consultants and need training. And consequently, that also gives us...
Give me a
Bingo.
silly. One
Bingo.
only, please.
Right?
Yeah!
Another bingo. Good gravy. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 bingos so far. And I have reached the end of my review. So if you have arguments for squares to be circled, please put them in the chat now. Tag me in your message so it'll be easier for me to find it. Spud Gun, the whole thing was a privilege whine. Oh, these people are gatekeeping money. They're all white. Wah. Yeah, that'll be another double bingo. If I circle privilege now, okay, I'm not disagreeing with you. I need something more. So either Spud, you need to enhance that, or somebody else needs to give me an additional push on that one. Okay. Let's see. Who's next here? Tyrannus Alexandrius Invictus Soul. There was a scribe light that played a game, and TEDx Bingo was its name-o. B-I-N-G-O. And TEDx Bingo was the name. It's true. Once a week, every week, for reasons I still cannot fathom. Cannibalistic Wizard, mind reading. Her dad claimed the hobo was racist, but he could have been insane, high as fuck, or both, and was hallucinating what... yeah. Or the Democrat? Okay. I believe you were being facetious there. No. Guessing, we are limited to the information we're provided in the presentation. Fucking Kunt, can I trade in my bingo card for a brain reconstruction discount? I'm glad I have a drink right now. What can I tell you? Mike R and Lexi Mads are having a little love fest over here. It's like, Lexi Mads, Mike R, I've missed you, only because my aim is off. Pissed Off Shih Tzu, Scribe, do you honestly think at 5 years old she would recognize that the hobo called her a monkey? I can remember some goofy things when I was 5. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. You know, or, you know, it could have been something that she asked that her parents retold to her later about something that she had. I don't know. Nothing about it sounded too good to be true. That's the thing. I can remember things that happened to me at 5 years old. I can remember my 4-year-old birthday with Spider-Man on the cake. So, you know, it's not impossible. I'm not putting it past the realm of possibility. Kanan Crystal Wing, late to the party, but I can see we got 4 bingos. Oh yeah, we got 4, possibly 6. If somebody can just bolster Spud Gun's privilege argument. I'm not averse to it entirely, but I want a little bit more before I go for another double bingo here. Okay, Spud Gun. Because of the gatekeeping comments, the not throwing money at children, I think it was a whine about the privileged position the moneyed folks were in. Okay, I'll Good recovery there, or additional there, I guess I should say, addendum. All right, well, you guys better give Spud Gun a bunch of thanks, because Spud has netted us 2 more bingos.
I had a dog, and his name was...
What?
I had a dog, and his name was...
Bingo!
Of course!
Oh, won't somebody please?
Bingo. B-I-N-G-O.
Okay!
Right?
2 more bingos. Let me update the card. There we go. So we got the 1. We got the 2, the 3, the 4, the 5, the 6. We got 6 bingos. Any other arguments for squares to be circled? Still entertaining them for the next couple of minutes here. Good job, all you experts. That's right. Experts in arguing for bingo squares. We're all becoming far more trained and practiced critical thinkers. All of us. Let's see. Dylan Farnham, I hope that hobo found a home better than living rent-free in her head. Well, there's that too. There's that too. Let's see. And Bridget, soon on her way to Japan. Privilege. It's an extreme privilege to be able to put pressure on massive grant organizations. Also, she's privileged that her family moved to Sweden. I think she said Finland, but either way, same thing. Lucky that her family got her out of, I think she said Somalia. Yeah, but, yeah, there you go. Well, on the chance that that is the end of the bingos for tonight, another reminder, programming note for Sunday. So Sunday, there will not be a Sunday stream as usual. Instead, and I'm putting the link into the chat right now, instead, Sunday at 3 p.m. Pacific Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, which is 10 a.m. Monday, New Zealand time, I'll be doing, after a long delay, the very first episode of what I hope will be an ongoing series, Living on Borrowed Crime, talking with true crime content creators about the genre, about cases they're working on, about cases in the news, as well as your questions, as you may have them, for them. And my guests this week, as scheduled, Matt Orchard, all fuzzed out and in human form. If you're not aware of these guys, look them up on YouTube. I'll have links to all their stuff on the show at the time. So look forward to that, seeing you there. And yeah, I'm hoping to do that like maybe once a month to start off with, you know, that time of the month. And yeah, I've thankfully come into contact with several true crime content YouTube creators over the course of the last couple of years, and I have good relations with them. I thought it might be interesting to get them all into a room. I did sort of a unintentional test pilot with this when I had Matt and Inhuman Form on several months ago for a Familiar with the Matter. And the more that I got to thinking about it, I thought, would it be cool if we just got a bunch of guys to sit around and nerd out on true crime stuff for a while? So that's the idea. We'll see how it works out. Sunday, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. Links in the description, or links in the chat box, so check that out. And Bridget, speaking of Japan, the bureaucracy would make her head spin. You need paperwork for paperwork there. Yeah. We need to make it simpler. Kids just can't understand it. Rather than improving their experiences and teaching them something, and let's just dumb it down. You know, because kids are experts, so they need simple things. Chicago Mike, just got here. What did I miss? Well, you missed the war. You know. As was said to Commodus. But that's a whole other thing. Everybody, I'm going to end it here. Thank you guys so much for joining me for this momentous TED Excellence, in the sense of how many bingos we got. Moderators, thank you for keeping an eye on things. Even though everyone here is so well behaved, you have very little to do. Everybody who donated, thank you so much for your generosity. I really do appreciate it. Yeah, so hope to see you guys Sunday for Living on Borrowed Crime. If you are at all interested in She-Hulk, I did my review earlier today. How much more plugging of myself can I do? I don't think I can, so I'm going to call it here. Everybody, have a good rest of your Thursday. Hope you have a good Friday. Hope the rest of your weekend is well. Hope you're all safe and well. If you are not well, get well soon, and I will see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.